Hey everybody, it's Atheist with a Cause here, and I wanted to give you a little election coverage. I'm gonna start doing a lot more election coverage now because we're starting to get into the full effect of the Democratic primary. It's gonna sneak up on people. So I'm gonna go through a bunch of candidates that have already declared, or some have exploratory committees to figure out if they want to run and want to officially declare. So let's get into it. Cory Booker has declared, and I he is one that has a serious shot, but at the same time, he's kind of like the dark horse of those that have a serious shot. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of minorities between blacks, Hispanics, women, and he's running on that really progressive um, agenda. And I'm not sure if he's going to be able to nudge all of the other candidates that are very similar to him. And, you know, he doesn't come across as a strong leader. He comes across as like someone who's trying to kowtow towards women and that kind of like it just doesn't come off as that genuine to me and that like that much of a leader. I want someone who's gonna pave the way with new ideas and be able to make strong decisions. He comes across as kind of a weak guy because he's always trying to, win over the, women and minorities and that. And he is um, a minority himself, so that helps him a little bit. But in this kind of field, I don't think he's going to end up winning it, but he's a strong enough candidate that he'll have a shot and he'll be able to fundraise. That's another big thing. He's 49 years old. He's a senator from New Jersey. He has been since 2013. He was the mayor of Newark from 2006 to 2013. One big thing is senators usually don't become presidents. It's only happened like twice in our history. So the fact that he's got that mayor uh, experience really helps. Um, Senators don't aren't really prepared for what it's like to be president. It's a very different job, but a mayor is basically the president of a city. Being mayor of Newark, it's like it's not a tiny city, but it's not New York, New York. You know what I mean? So at the same, so I mean, he's got an interesting combination, but we'll see how it goes. Then we have Pete Buttigieg. I think I said his name wrong, but he hasn't officially declared. I don't think he will, but it depends what his strategy is. I don't think he has a serious shot of winning. Um, but if his strategy is to get some name recognition and then run in the future and have a better shot in the future, this maybe he could declare, but I don't think he even has enough name recognition to do that. There's just going to be too many candidates. He's not going to get the time, and I mean, would he even get on the debate stage? So he's he also doesn't have very much experience. He was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, from 2012, and that's it. So uh, I was mentioning how being a mayor does help prepare you for being president, but at the same time, people don't really respect it. So that's what I like about Cory Booker's experience is he's got the mayor to provide the experience. He's got the senator experience to add some respect from the people because it's like on the national stage. Um, People kind of question whether a mayor is really qualified to become president. Um, so he is a gay candidate, and he would be the first openly gay candidate to become president. So he's got that going for him. And I do actually like I was listening to some of his arguments, and I do actually like a lot about him. Like he just kind of talks like the average person, and he's a very down to earth person. Like he talks about if you need something, you can just go to Target, and it comes off as very believable instead of, it's no Elizabeth Warren where she's like in her, huge ass house drinking a beer randomly on live stream to try to connect with people. And then she asks her husband if he wants a beer and he says no. No. I mean, that's kind of a PR nightmare. When Pete Buttigieg talks, it just it doesn't even feel like he's trying to connect with people. He just is connecting with people. He just is one of us. That's what it feels like. But unfortunately, I mean, he's 37 years old, so he'd barely be old enough to run for president. Um, I think in the future maybe he can get some more recognition, but right now, even if he runs, he's not gonna win. Um, unless something crazy happens. Like Pete Buttigieg winning would be a bigger upset than Donald Trump running because I don't think he's even going to be able to fundraise. So at least Trump had his own money. Then we're on to Julian Castro, who is 44 years old, which is a really good age because people like a young candidate that isn't like super young, older than 37, but still younger than 50. Like, that's a really good age. And the he's the U.S. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Has been, or he was from 2014 to 2017. That was under Obama. And before that, he was the mayor of San Antonio, 2009 to 2014. He hasn't had a formal position since then, since 2017. I don't think he's got a huge chance, but if things go right, he is a good talker. He will get a lot of support from the base, like from the Democratic base with their minorities and women. He is a bit of a race baiter, in my opinion, and he talks way too much about his family, and his family story. It's like, yes, it's cool you have your family story, but what are you gonna do for us? Like, uh, in his announcement speech, it was like 75% this is my family story, and like 25% these are the issues. And so I I don't think he has the experience. I mean, mayor of San Antonio, that again that'll prepare him for president to some extent, but he doesn't really have the name recognition. He doesn't really have the national experience. So the connection to Obama will help him, and I think he probably will be able to fundraise to some extent because he does have that connection to Obama. And he if I don't know how strong his connections are to Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton, but like if he's connected to the Bill Clinton network, those people can usually get funding. So that'll be interesting. But in the end, I don't think he's gonna win. But he has a long shot, but he still has a decent shot. So you can't count him out entirely. Then John Delaney. Well, I want to go back to Julian Castro. His name will really hurt him, and I think he's one thing that will help him win the candidacy potentially, but not the generals. Is he is really far left. Like the thing I don't like about him is he picks issues that will are kind of small issues. Like they matter to people, but they're not gonna win you the candidacy. Like he wants free pre-K, and then he wants like he was in this announcement speech talking about how he raised taxes and he was proud of raising sales tax. And it's like, you're proud of, you're gonna run on raising sales tax? Like, that is a tax that actually harms the average person. Um, so it's not like you're gonna raise taxes on the rich. If you're raising sales tax, that's a tax on the middle class. So he's got to figure some of that stuff out. But yeah, he's very far left. You know, when you're talking about being proud of a tax, you're really far left. And luckily for him, it's Democratic base, really far left right now. Um, but then we have John Delaney. He's a U.S. representative from the Maryland 6th District from 2013 to 2019. Um, he was born in New Jersey. He's 55 years old, and he just not a lot of name recognition. He's run before. He's never caught on. He is kind of that. He tries to be everything, and it just comes off as being nothing. Like he says he fought for the unions. He's a businessman. He's a progressive. He's a different kind of Democrat. He's a centrist. Well, what the fuck are you? You can't be everything. Are you a progressive or are you a centrist? Your ideas seem to be like more centrist, but then you call yourself a progressive. You, you know, um, so I don't think he has a chance in hell. Uh, Part of the problem with him too is when a guy has run before and not caught on at all, then that's not a good sign for the future. People really like those candidates that are brand new, and that's why you don't want to run too early. You want to get your name recognition big enough that you can catch on when you run the first time, and even if you don't win, you're like a serious contender. And then the second time you run, you can potentially springboard off of that. But if you run and you don't get any traction at all, and then you try to run again, there's no reason that you're going to get traction again. So, and then we're on to one of the biggest, most interesting candidates of the whole field, Tulsi Gabbard. I know a lot of you are going to like her. She's a U.S. representative from the 2nd District of Hawaii, and she's only 37 years old, actually. But her age isn't going to harm her as much because first of all, she's relatively attractive. I say relatively, a lot of people think she's really attractive, but she's got some kind of like issues with her face that she has to cover up with makeup, and you can't see that in the pictures. So you will be able to see that when she speaks live, but you know, people say, "Oh, you're being sexist. You're talking about a woman's attractiveness." It matters, and that's not just women; it's men too. But for men, it's more about looking professional, um, and that's why one problem with John Delaney is he's like bald in the middle and got the hair on the sides that doesn't come off as very professional looking. Tulsi for women, and it's instead of professional, it's more about looking attractive. I mean, you want to look professionally attractive, I guess. Uh, and Tulsi Gabbard has that. She also doesn't take shit from anybody. She stands up to the party. She's supported Bernie Sanders. She's going to have a strong um, in with the progressives because she did support Bernie, and she better hope that Bernie doesn't run. I'm not going to cover Bernie. He hasn't officially declared, and we all know who he is, but hopefully, because I like Tulsi, hopefully Bernie doesn't run, and then Tulsi Gabbard can get Bernie's people. I mean, Bernie's old enough that he's like uh, he's over 70. He needs to pass that torch to someone younger. Let Tulsi take that torch on for your ideas, you know? And she's been attacked in the media, somewhat legitimately actually, because She's also Hindu. A lot of people don't know that, and because of her religion, she she actually doesn't believe in like being gay. Basically, she doesn't think people should be gay. She I don't know exactly how to word it because I don't think she thinks it's unhealthy, but I guess unnatural is the way to word it. But she does, so she wouldn't want her kids to be gay, for instance, but at the same time, she governs in a way that brings equality because she thinks that, um, all people should be equally represented by the government, so gay people should be able to get married. And so I don't think people have to worry about her getting into office and, trying to take away gay rights. She's just not going to prioritize that. Um, she and with as far left as the base is, they're gonna eat a lot of her stuff up. That she is very. Sh I'm gonna call her non-interventionist, but she might be to the point of isolationist. She does not like getting involved pretty much anywhere around the world that I've seen. She has actually had a meeting with Assad, and she was in the military before, and uh, she defends Assad quite a bit. She doesn't want government regime change there because she thinks he does a good enough job. I guess that just taking him out will cause, unrest and chaos in Syria, and that, kind of like with Iraq when we took Saddam out. And she thinks that he's, keeping him there is better than forcing him out. Also, we don't really have good goals in Syria, so I think her Syrian stance of, get out of Syria is smart. She's harmed a little bit because has taken action on that, so she can't she can support that, but then that's going to be putting her with Donald Trump. So it'll be interesting to see how she walks through that. But I think overall she's a really interesting candidate. That yes, she's a progressive, but she's not the batshit insane kind of progressive, and she's really down to earth. She doesn't take shit. She's stood up to the Clintons quite a bit, and no one can question that she's actually for the people. If she gets into office, her main thing is going to be ending corruption, I think. And I think that's where you're going to see her main pushing in the debates and that kind of thing is we need to end corruption and not just put our words to saying that and then doing nothing once in office. Uh, but we need to have real plans, and she's for reinstalling a Glass-Steagall and putting in other, legislation that would prevent money in politics to a large extent. So I think that is actually the most popular part of the progressive um, base is like what they really want is getting money out of politics. That's why like H.A. Goodman and those kinds of progressives left the Democratic Party because the dem even the progressives on the Democratic Party because the progressives are pushing a lot of things that have nothing to do with getting money out of politics. The Young Turks, look at that. They've gotten away from it and they've become more of like liberal chills. So Tulsi Gabbard's very, very interesting, and she's very intimidating. When she gets on the debate stage, she's going to she's going to be able to get a lot of funding from the average person, and then she's going to be able to intimidate other people on the debate stage, come across as strong, and no one's going to question whether she can be a leader or not. Um, then you have, also another thing I want to say is she did have to deal with some serious issues being from Hawaii with the Kim Jong Un foreign policy issue, where like remember there was the fake or false alarm about the missile coming towards Hawaii, and she had to go help her state with that, um, solve that issue. So uh, she does have some real interesting experience being from Hawaii there. So then we have a Kristen Gillibrand who's not officially declared. She's in an exploratory committee. I think she will. She's 52 years old. I think she will um, declare, but I don't think she has a chance in Holland winning. She's absolutely batshit insane. Like, she's crazy feminist, and there are some feminists that are reasonable. She is not one of those feminists. Um, and some of you would argue with me that there are any feminists that are reasonable, but you could say there are women's rights advocates that are reasonable. But she is the batshit insane feminist type. And she was a U.S. representative from 20th District of New York from 2007 to 2009. She's a U.S. Senator of New York from 2009 to the present. And then we'll see how she does, but if she declares, but she has, she's the one that carried around the mattress with Emma Sulkowicz after so Emma Sulkowicz carried around the mattress and had the blood stain on it with the, for an art project after she falsely accused a man of raping her, and it was shown by the school and the police, or not the police, but the courts, because he sued her, that it was a false accusation. And after all of this was known, Kirsten Gillibrand still invited Emma Sulkowicz to the State of the Union address. And this is a woman who is effectively bullying the man. He was suspended at one point from his college, and he ended up leaving Columbia, if I remember right, because the bullying was like everywhere he'd go, people hated him, and she'd be carrying this stupid mattress around. And Kirsten Gillibrand, the only reason she invited Emma Sulkowicz was because of that situation, and believe all women, and that does a lot of harm, and the silent majority who controls this country, they do not put up with that bullshit. So yes, in the primaries, you you do get more of the further extreme people voting, and the silent majority doesn't. They don't vote quite as much, but you still get a lot of them in the presidential cycle. And I think Kirsten Gillibrand's just not going to catch on. Her ideas aren't taking this country in any sort of good direction. They're very divisive, and they're she doesn't have any clear vision to make any improvements to solve any real issues. She doesn't come across as a leader either. And I think, if I remember right, she actually ran last time when Hillary Clinton won, but she didn't catch on at all. So no surprise there. She can get funding from the feminists. I mean, the feminists are going to fall in love with her, but uh, we'll see if, you know, sometimes if organizations don't think you have a chance, they might even abandon you. So we'll see if the feminists waste their money on her or put it behind some of these other women that have a better shot. Kamala, maybe that's what the exploratory committee is about. Sometimes it's not about who you can, who's taking to your message. Sometimes it's about who, with the money is willing to promise you donations if you run. And she's probably talking to the feminists, seeing if they're going to give her money or not. Kamala Harris is a big one. She's 54. She's the leader right now. Um, she is a black woman, so she checks all the minority boxes. It's a big um, benefit to her. She's a U.S. Senator from California since 2017 to the present. So only a Senate experience, that's gonna hurt her. Hasn't been in government that long, but she does have like prosecutorial experience. She was a prosecutor in the Oakland area. Um, so you know nobody's gonna really question whether she's qualified to run for president, but they are going to pick apart her prosecutorial record, and they're going to say, hey, she overwhelmingly prosecuted minorities because it's always that way because minorities commit more crimes. And I've already seen this argument taking place. She really doesn't have a counter argument to it. They, I mean, she tries to say that her prosecutions have helped minorities, but what the left is going to see is that the black people and Hispanic people have been sent to jail. So that this at a time when Trump is um, uh, doing reform on prisons and trying to make it so black people and other minorities aren't going through, aren't getting so much unfair um, arrests, unfair, lengthy prison times for drug crimes when people haven't even been violent and it's a first time offense. And he's even pardoned some of these people. He showed that at the State of the Union address, had some of the pardoned people there, and that one woman, I forgot her name, but um, you know that makes Trump look better than Kamala Harris in a lot of ways. And I think she's got a problem where she's the number one person already, and people get tired of the person who's number one for a while. So mark my words, Kamala Harris is going to lose. Um, and I'm taking a big risk here because Scott Adams has picked Kamala Harris to win, but I don't think he knows politics. He knows persuasion, and uh, yes, I know he picked Trump to win, but so did I, and I actually go through and I predict every single electoral vote, which he doesn't do. And in 2008, I got every single electoral vote correct, including the one that went to Obama in Nebraska, which basically nobody predicted. So I got the right. I got Obama right in 2008. I got Trump right in 2012. Or I'm sorry, in 2016 I got Trump right. So um, yeah, with getting Obama right twice and Trump right once, I have a good history here of predictions. And one consistent thing in all of the elections I've watched is the person at the top who's there for too long. People get tired of them, they nitpick them, and they fall down eventually. And that, you know, the stage is set with her prosecutorial record that to be nitpicked. So that's one of the hardest records to bring to the Democratic platform. And that brings me to the dark horse, Amy Klobuchar, who just announced if she can catch on early, I think she's the biggest threat to Trump as a centrist to of the Democratic primary to actually win in the general election, but she has a tough time getting through the primaries because there's so many candidates and they're so far left right. The base is so far left right now. But there's a lot going on with her. So she's 58 years old, only been a senator from Minnesota, but for a while now, since 2007, she's really well liked, won by double digits in all of her races, never lost a race, and uh, she's got a lot of interesting ideas. She usually goes with her party. She's got a good enough history with staying with her party, but at the same time, you'll see occasionally she goes away from her party and on some very big things. And one of those things was when the Democratic Party wanted to be against Trump because they have to be against Trump on everything. With the Syria issue, she actually voted. There were two bills basically to kind of show that the Democrats were against getting out of Syria. And she said, like, no, these are bullshit, and voted against her party and with Trump on them. And, in a way that would make progressives happy. So she can point to saying, hey, I wanted to get out of Syria, and that makes me more progressive than a lot of these progressives who wanted to stay in Syria and criticize Trump for getting out just because they wanted to be against Trump. So Amy Klobuchar doesn't have the name recognition, but once people start learning who she is, they're really gonna a lot of people are really gonna fall in love with her. The Midwest is really gonna fall in love with her, and that will be really tough for Trump if she gets the generals because Trump's gonna have a tough time winning without the Rust Belt. So, uh, you know, she doesn't advocate for universal health care. She advocates more for reform of our healthcare system and and keeping, I think, improving Obamacare to a large extent. So she doesn't want to go to these extreme lengths that really alienates the silent majority, and we could see benefits of that. CNN and the other mainstream media has really been giving her a lot of coverage lately, because I think they recognize she's in a unique spot. There aren't many other centrists right now, and the other centrists that do exist, like I mean, John Delaney, you could call centrist, Pete Buttigieg, like these guys, uh, they don't have a serious chance to win. So of the centrists, I think she's one of the top centrists right now, and she does come off as just a normal, like everyday person, but she also comes off across as a leader in the sense that she's qualified to run and all of that because of her lengthy experience, going all the way back to 2007, like I mentioned. Um, she does a lot of messaging with things like her clothing. She wears a lot of purple. Um, she's trying to connect with the purple state, which is where they elect Republicans and Democrats. She really is trying to um, connect with the hardworking, message. And, I think the unions could get behind her for funding. And we'll see what happens in her name, or her logo, excuse me. It's interesting because her name, Amy, is green. And so that's a way of trying to connect with people in the Green Party or just like progressives that care a lot about environmentalism. And she famously made Brett Kavanaugh go off the rails with a relatively simple question about whether he's ever uh, drank to the point where he couldn't remember something. And then he's like, "Have you?" And she didn't really respond. She just kind of like waited for him to, come back down to earth. And I really think that would work well. That's gonna work well in the campaigning. Like, I don't think she's gonna go after Trump hard. She'll say some things that show she's against Trump, but she's gonna try to really push the issues. And I think you're gonna get a lot of other people being divisive, and that could get old on the campaign trail. Do you just want to be divisive and run against Trump, or do you want to push actual issues? If you want someone who pushes actual issues, Amy Klobuchar is one of the only candidates actually pushing issues right now. Elizabeth Warren, the fake Indian, U.S. Senator from Massachusetts from 2013. That's like one thing you'll see a lot of, they do have private experience being lawyers and things like that, but a lot of these people in the government have only been senators. That's kind of interesting. Um, but she is 69, so her age could be a problem, but she doesn't look that old. So we'll see we'll see how that goes because age was the problem with excuse me, Senator Sanders, and it still is a problem for him. So she's almost as old as he is. I don't think she has a good logo at all. It's a black Warren underlined, and then I mean, what? Who's that trying to connect to? You're just black. That's so negative. And I mean, the whole Indian thing, like, I don't think that's going away. She has not shown she can deal with it. She keeps bringing it up herself. She's going on apology tours. She actually did a DNA test and it didn't even come up right. She tried to deny it at one point. Then she called the tribe and apologized to them, and it's just like, my God, it's such a distraction. I think that alone won't kill her, but she used to be loved as a progressive, and then she got in bed with Clintons, and now she's like a progressive that sides with the liberals. I don't really see her being well liked by anybody. So, but she is a serious candidate. She can get serious funding. She's basically running as the anti-Trump candidate, and she's not going to push a lot of policies. Attack. Uh, she's going to attack Trump. And going back to Amy Klobuchar, when she announced, she's been putting forth a lot of detailed policies too. Like a lot of these candidates don't have, they have general ideas, but they don't have detailed ways of how to get there because Klobuchar has been in office for so long. I mean, I really can't stress that enough. That it really does help her be very detailed in everything she puts forward. So, she's just not going to have a tax plan. She's going to have a detailed tax plan. That kind of thing matters, and people can try to pick it apart, but when her policies are so pragmatic, it's hard to pick apart as well. So, anyways, there's some other people that I'm not going to cover because they're just not important enough right now. Maybe I'll do one of all the lower people that probably won't even make it on the debate stage, but I'm going to cut this here before I get too long. So I'll talk to you guys later. And I think one message I want to put out there, if you're a Trump supporter, you're not going to have a primary to vote for. Vote in the Democratic primary. And there's two ways to vote. Either you vote in someone you hate that you think will be easy to beat, or you vote in someone that you really like. And then even if they beat Trump, then you have a win-win. It's a win-win. Like if Trump wins, great. If like say you put Tulsi Gabbard in and she wins, well, at least you got the best of the Democrats. Or say you put Amy Klobuchar in and she wins, well, at least you got the best of the Democrats then. And I think if you want someone not crazy, you got to get in and prop up some of these not crazy Democrats because we're at a point where the Democratic base could put a crazy Democrat in. Like maybe Kirsten Gillibrand, who I think has no chance to win because she's just batshit insane. Maybe it's time where they would put her in. And we want to make sure that doesn't happen. So my two favorite candidates are Amy Klobuchar and Tulsi Gabbard, and I'll probably be voting for Amy Klobuchar, but you know, I would consider Tulsi Gabbard, especially if she's not, if Amy Klobuchar has dropped out or something. You never know, what's how the race is gonna go, when people are gonna potentially drop out, or um, so. I'll talk to you guys later. Let me know who you like, what you think of these candidates, who you think has a shot to win, and why. Who's better in the primary, who's better in the generals, who you think could beat Trump. Uh, I say Amy Klobuchar is the most likely to beat Trump if she gets there. Uh, do you agree with that? Or who do you think has the best overall shot to get through the generals and then beat Trump? I don't see too many candidates that have. I don't see any candidate that has a great shot at that. Um, I guess I would say Tulsi Gabbard, but we'll see. Have a good one, guys.